You know, when you look at an ancient alphabet, you're not just seeing a set of letters. It's more like a storybook, with secrets hiding in plain sight. Today, we're going to decode one of its most dynamic characters. And what we find is a story of movement, of a mission, and a message that's been hidden for thousands of years. Let's dive in.
It sounds a little out there, right? Can one single letter really do all that? Well, the letter we're looking at today just might. We're about to see how one simple symbol can unpack a narrative that stretches across the entire foundation of the Hebrew Scriptures.
So here it is, Gimel. As the third letter, its ancient pictograph is thought to look like a man walking. It's a letter all about action, about movement, and, as we're about to see, it's about having a purpose.
Okay, so let's start with the most basic thing, its shape. The visual story of Gimel really begins with where it stands in line in the alphabet.
So, check this out. The letter right before Gimel is Bet. Bet means house, and it even looks kind of like an enclosed space, right? And then right after it, you have Gimel, our walking man. So the first two letters create this tiny little scene. There's a house, and then there's a man walking away from it.
And this perfectly mirrors one of the most foundational commands in the entire Torah. Abram is told to go forth. In Hebrew, that's lech lecha, from his father's house. It's amazing. The alphabet itself seems to visually echo this command. A man, Gimel, leaving the house, Bet, to start a massive journey.
But the story goes so much deeper than just its shape. In Hebrew tradition, letters are also numbers, and this opens up a whole new layer of meaning that is just fascinating. So as the third letter, Gimel has the numerical value, or gematria, of 3. Now, 3 is a hugely significant number all through the Scriptures, but to really unlock what's going on here, we need to bring another key number into the mix.
And that number is 26. In this system of interpretation, 26 is considered a divine number, and the reason why is pretty incredible.
Okay, so the sacred name of God, Yahweh, which is spelled Yod-He-Vav-He, has letter values that add up to exactly 26. Now here's the wild part. There's a theory that the letter Gimel itself is made up of other letters, a Vav and 2 Yods, and when you add up their values, you guessed it, you also get 26. It creates this direct numerical link to the divine name itself.
Now, that numerical link backs up an interpretation where the first 3 letters of the alphabet actually represent a divine trio. Aleph, number 1, represents God the Father. Bet, the house, represents the Son, the dwelling place of God on earth. And that leaves Gimel, the one leaving the house, with that divine number 26, representing the Holy Spirit, sent out on a mission.
So if Gimel is a messenger sent out on a mission, what kind of messenger is it? Well, the biggest clue of all is hiding in the letter's name.
The Hebrew word for the letter, Gimel, is spelled almost exactly like the Hebrew word for camel, gamal. And that's no accident. The camel, this beast of burden that carries precious goods across harsh deserts, becomes the perfect metaphor for this letter's purpose.
And to really get the camel's mission, we need to know one more key word, barak. Now you've probably heard this translated as to bless, but its most concrete meaning is to kneel down, specifically in that posture of presenting a gift to someone. And this all just comes together beautifully in Genesis 24. You've got Abraham, the father, sending his trusted servant to find a bride for his son, Isaac. The servant stays nameless on this mission. He loads up 10 camels with his master's best gifts. And when he gets to the well, the text says he made the camels barak. He made them kneel down, ready to present the gifts that would secure the bride. The camel, the gamal, becomes the perfect symbol for delivering the father's blessings.
And this whole theme of giving, helping, and redeeming isn't just about the camel. It's like a thread that runs through so many powerful Hebrew words that start with Gimel.
Take the word goel, the kinsman redeemer. This was a relative who was legally obligated to step in and rescue his family members from debt, from slavery, from loss. He was the ultimate helper, the one who paid the price to make things right.
And then you have Gibor, which means mighty or powerful. It's famously used in Isaiah's prophecy to describe the coming Messiah as El Gibor, mighty God, which highlights a divine strength that's used for salvation.
And all of this brings us right back to the alphabet's own little story. The very next letter after Gimel is Dalet, which represents a poor, bent-over man. So the story goes that the Gimel, the rich benefactor, is running towards the Dalet, the one in need, to lift him up.
So we started with Gimel's journey out of the house. To wrap this up, we're going to uncover another hidden journey,
one that's encoded across the entire Torah, not in its famous first words, but in its very last.
Now, many of you might know that the first words of the Torah's 5 books form a kind of secret message. But what if there's a parallel secret, like a mirror image, hiding in the final word of each of those same books? Okay, let's just walk through it. The very last word of the book of Genesis is in Egypt. The last word of Exodus is journeys. Leviticus ends with on Sinai. Numbers ends with at Jericho. And the final word of the entire Torah in Deuteronomy is Israel. When you string them all together, they form a sentence. And that sentence perfectly summarizes the entire narrative of the Exodus. A journey that begins in Egypt, continues on journeys to Sinai, culminates at Jericho, and establishes the nation of Israel. It's incredible. And this brings us completely full circle. This huge, grand journey, hidden at the very end of the Torah, is the ultimate fulfillment of that command embodied in that first walking man, Gimel, to go forth from the house of bondage and journey to the promised land.
So from the shape of a single letter to the final words of a sacred text, the story stays totally consistent. It just makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other profound messages are hiding right there, in plain sight, just waiting for us to find them?